Chapter 9, The Money War, Financial Power versus State Power. Chapter 8 left us with a fiery showdown between Andrew Jackson, the US president at the time, and Nicholas Biddle, the president of the central bank. These two powerhouses clashed over a fundamental question: who should control America's money supply? Now, in Chapter 9, we zoom out to the global stage and witness an over 300-year war between these two titans, financial power and state power. And spoiler alert, as Woodward explains early, that financial power came out on top, leaving us with what some would argue is the worst possible money system. But how did we get here, and why does this fight still matter? This is the essence of Chapter 9. Before diving into the showdown between these two contenders in the money war, financial power and state power, Woodward makes it clear he's not endorsing either camp. Instead, he's merely shedding light on the historical tug of war that shaped the system we are left with today. His stance remains that free market money is the true champion for the people. And at their core, both financial power and state power are guilty of fraud and theft through inflating the money supply, and the real questions become, which is the lesser of two evils, and how did financial power win out? Let's take a look. Woodward begins by contrasting both sides. On one side, you have financial power, a force that grew by leveraging private wealth to influence politics and secure government power. Think of the figures we've already discussed, like the Medicis and Fuggers and even Biddle himself. By using privately created money, these bankers could buy political loyalty and shape laws to serve their own interest. It wasn't just about making money, it was about controlling the system that makes the money. On the other side, you had public state power creating money strictly for government use, and any attempt to pay people to support it would be a violation of its own laws. Advantage financial power. Even though state power offered a fair and more stable system for the people, it was no match for the sheer profitability and ruthlessness of financial power. Furthermore, financial power had another distinct advantage. It wasn't confined by borders. By building a global network of central banks, it operated across nations, while state power's influence stopped at the edge of its own borders. However, Woodward explains that even with these advantages, financial power didn't win easily. Each time a new state leader realized how absurd it was for governments to borrow money and pay billions of dollars to private bankers when they could just simply create the money themselves, the money war reignited and raged on. But in the end, financial power didn't just rely on brute force. It played a clever psychological game, wrapping themselves in the respectable guise of the gold standard. We talked about that a little bit in the last chapter, and this strategy convinced the public that financial power represented free market ideals while state power looked like a reckless money-printing villain. And in reality, the gold standard was just a smokescreen, a way to keep financial power firmly in control. This two-part strategy, one, gaining political allies, and two, winning public support, it proved to be the difference. Woodward takes a moment to highlight the bitter irony here. And the very people who suffered under financial power's debt money system, these were the same people who defended it. It's interesting. They were duped into believing it was the only viable option, even as it tied them to endless debt at compound interest. Chapter 9 explains that both financial power via fractional reserve banking and state power via fiat money can inflate the money supply. But only one system, state power, avoids the economic devastation of deflation. To borrow a metaphor from the book, state power inflation is like getting run over by a van, while financial power inflation, the van runs over you, it backs up, and it runs over you again and again and again. Woodward concludes that historically, ever so often a bold leader would rise up and try to reclaim the nation's monetary sovereignty. But financial power always struck back, either funding wars or economic sanctions or even outright coups to maintain its dominance. This cycle of resistance and retaliation had played out for centuries, leaving no room for compromise. The money monopoly could only have one master, either financial power or state power. Unfortunately for all of us, financial power won the day. With that, it's time to begin reading Chapter 9.